In Holy Baptism, we sing after the people are baptized as soon as they come out of the water. We say, "Blessed are those whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered." I heard a talk by Father Stephen Freeman the other day. It was talking about Genesis. If you remember the story of Adam and Eve, and how they realize that they're naked in the garden after they eat from the tree. And there's a sense that in that, and it says that they were ashamed. So they went and hid themselves. Father Stephen pointed out that when God approaches them, and he's trying to find them, he says, "Where are you?" He says, notice what happens. The people, Adam and Eve, they say we were naked and we were ashamed, so we went and hid. But God says, he doesn't say, "Why are you naked? You should be ashamed." He doesn't pile on the shame. He says, "What did you do?" So he shifts away from it. If anybody of you ever learned anything about what toxic shame is, it has to do with you think about who you are, not maybe what you've done. And so he immediately shifts it away to what did you do? Not who you are. Who you are is still my creation, the one that I love. That hasn't changed. And so what God does after that is to make garments for them to be covered, to be protected, so that they can live to some extent without that deep sense of shame that they were feeling. That they would be protected in this world that they were now entering into that's very dangerous. So he gives them garments of skin so that they're not left alone. And Father Stephen pointed out that throughout the scriptures you could think about, you could develop like a theology of covering. How God is always seeking to cover the sin, the shame, and to restore us to life in him. Even when the prodigal son in the parable of the Lord comes home, the father, one of the first things that he says is put a robe on him, cover him. And so we say that as you come up out of the water from the baptismal font, "Blessed are those whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered over." And they're not just covered over with garments of skin anymore. Through what Jesus Christ has accomplished through his cross, through his death, through his resurrection and ascension into heaven, and the sending of the Holy Spirit, you're no longer covered with garments of skin, but are clothed with garments of light. And that's why we say, when we put the robe on, "Grant me a bright robe, O merciful Christ our God, you who array yourself with light," as with the garment. And so now being clothed in that new robe and covered, we have such incomprehensible boldness to be able to draw near to the living God and seek genuine communion with him. Having been clothed with light as he himself is light. Or in other words, having been clothed with Christ himself. And so we draw near to God and we seek to leave behind all the darkness that is in our life. And so may God bless both Laura and Adam on this day, and their sponsors, and all of you who have gathered together to celebrate this sacrament. Some of you are visiting us for the first time, and it's beautiful that you're here. I'm sure you're wondering, how long is this going to go on? Maybe you might be thinking that. There's only about a half an hour more of prayers. I'm just kidding. But you wouldn't know. Could end up going on for hours and hours. But so thank you all, and God bless you.